Hi,
Hello.
it's us. We're here. Good morning. Or afternoon if you're from the East Coast, but we only operate on West Coast time here. Welcome to Chapter 5 of Volume 1 of All We've Lost. We're going to start with player introductions. So, Jay, kick us off.
Hello, I'm Jay. I play Eilif Sanse, a fighter, an Aasimar fighter, heading to Dúnbrig to collect some information and drop off a package because I'm a mailman.
Just a mailman.
Just a mailman. You can find me on social medias at TheYellowCubes, but right now I just want to be Sanse.
Mournian.
I am Mournian. You can find me here on Saturday mornings playing Moss, a lovely little bard who is having some internal issues at the moment. Apart from that, I might stream one day at twitch.tv/Mournian, but other than that, you can find me in either Myriad or Bones Chat being a general pain in their butt.
Joel.
Hi. Play Neck. Been kind of spineless last couple episodes. You know, it's fine.
Not like spineless in that like you are a coward, spineless in that you literally have no spines. Rush.
I know. Just go to Bones. Go to Bones.
Okay. Little Bones.
Hi, it's me. I'm LittleBones309. I'm your favorite indie gamer here on Twitch. But over here on Saturdays, I play Oleyna, your favorite courtesan, who's doing her best to fuck her way through this country.
She sure is, bud.
I'm really overcaffeinated. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry.
And I'm Myriad. This is my channel, so hi. If you like what you see, please follow here. I play a whole lot of different games on this channel and also run this game, this D&D game, as well as maybe other TTRPGs in the future here. This is the, what is it, penultimate? Penultimate is the one before the finale? Before the ultimate?
My baby girls. I see your comments.
Thanks for lurking, Valis. This is the penultimate episode of season 1, volume 1 of All We've Lost. So next week will be our last session for about a month. We'll resume here back in January. But I believe Jay has a recap for us of last week, even though she was only here for half of the session. So come on, Jay.
I'm gonna do my best, so forgive me if it's a little long-winded and bad. So the recap for last week was that we get to Whitewood, staying at a Whitewood Inn called the Whispering Hollow Inn. There were members of the Circle of Brass around the town. One of them approached Eilif, and she was incredibly suspicious, as they're a mercenary guild, but she puts it out of her mind as she heads to the bank. She provides them the bank with her name and a couple numbers, and then they trap her here for 3+ hours. Typical. Afterward, they allow her to deposit some money, but she notes that there is still money in the account, even though she, for the last 4 months, there's been no change. The last place that money was taken out was Dúnbrig, and for some reason, that's important. She retreats to the inn when she gets there, Oleyna informs her that the girls of a nearby brothel are being treated horribly, and that she and Moss and Neck will do something about it. Eilif opts out of going, retreating to her room quietly and quickly, forgetting a piece of paper on the bar. On the paper is her full name and the account number, which Oleyna quickly scoops up and places away, keeping it in the back of her mind. Moss meets an old acquaintance of his mother and tells him stories of her before the fame. Oleyna heads to the brothel, dressed as a government inspector. Neck acts as her guard and Moss is an assistant. Oleyna asks the madam to present her with all the girls, and as they are called down, Oleyna and anyone with eyes can note that these girls are malnourished and frightfully meek. Oleyna picks two of the girls to talk to, and they tell her of the true conditions that they are kept in. Oleyna does right by the girls and replaces the madam with a worker that lives off premises, which is a little strange, but that the girls hold in high esteem. Neck is ordered by Oleyna to arrest the madam. He takes great joy in putting her in a headlock and hog-tying her, taking her to a local jail to wait so that they can drag her to Dúnbrig. As they head to their inn for the rest of the night, Neck receives a letter that tells him of his wife and children, but the letter has something off. The way the letter is addressed, the sign-off, it all feels not right, almost as if it isn't his wife writing. He makes it of the utmost importance to get to Dúnbrig now. They collect the madam, leaving the rest of the caravan in Whitewood with the exception of Jet and Som, who have their own horses and want to come along. With their newly acquired cart, they begin their travel to Dúnbrig. They make progress, but a mechanical bird visits Moss once again, this time with a note from his father. It speaks frantically of going to an unknown place, whilst it warns against it. The bird concludes with telling him that he must find her in this unknown place. Moss catches it out of the sky, reading the insignia of his father underneath. Moss, for the rest of the night, retreats back into himself, into his own mind. The party charges toward Dúnbrig for their own reasons. And that's what I have.
That was a very, very good recap. Jay, take a nat 20 as your reward.
Thank you. I'm taking it. I'm fucking taking it.
You better use it too, man. So, last we left off, the party began their trek to the capital in haste at Neck's insistence, with both Jet and Som in tow. The air grows colder as you've continued north. Not unusual, but still unseasonably cold for this time of year. Everyone is going to get an additional advantage thanks to Ad. Thank you, Ad.
Thank you, Ad.
As you are traveling, it is on the third day that something extremely peculiar happens. The creak of the wagon's wheels and the horse's hooves clopping against the cobblestone road fills the silence of the air. It's been a long few days with a little time stopping to rest, and you've all grown bleary from travel, and at first, when you notice movement out of the corner of your eye, you almost think it to be a trick of your mind. And you may squint, maybe rub at your eyes a bit to readjust, but no, you definitely saw something rustling within the bushes off to the side of the road. And then, in a flurry, a few creatures skitter across the road in front of the party. I will have everyone roll a nature check.
$17.
Okay.
13.
13.
14.
Okay. Anyone who rolled over a 12, this is... It's not a family of raccoons, unfortunately. These creatures are odd. You all were traveling with the keeper of the creatures, whose name I cannot remember right now. He had an abundance of different creatures with him, all from varying parts of the lands. None of these creatures look like what you see before you. They're odd. There's scales, but there's also feathered wings and a long tail that sort of wags along as they dart off into the bushes on the opposite side of the road. They are unfamiliar, and there's a part of you that knows that they're not of this land. And if you want to give me an Arcana check as well. Bless you.
Bless you.
I'm going to use an advantage.
I got a 15 total.
I got an 18 total.
Okay.
Nice.
I got a 20 total.
Nice.
18?
Okay, anyone with above in a 16. So I think it's everyone but Oleyna, right? The magical signature that these creatures are giving off, because they are giving off a magical signature, which is something that you would know. Not normal natural creatures do not have any sort of magical signature. These ones do. And it is eerily similar to the changeling that you had encountered a week ago now. And you suspect that perhaps these creatures might be from the same place that Adon was from. But just as quickly as you saw them, they are gone. And it is another 2 days before the party arrives in Dúnbrig. As the party approaches the capital, on the right, you can see Derek Bay, a beautiful sight for those who have never been to the region, and those who call Dúnbrig home. The salty air rolling off the bay beckons you. As you enter the outer district of Dúnbrig, Eliam's Grove, beyond the trees, you can see the Silverspire Heights perched atop a hill overlooking the city. Dullahan's Keep stands the tallest building, a castle of pale stone and spires. Oleyna. As you stare up at Dullahan's Keep, you feel a wave of emotions wash over you, ones that aren't your own. A feeling of finally returning home after being away for so long, a warmth filling your entire body that starts in your chest. But there is something else hidden beneath. A cold rage cutting through that heat, like a cold knife of betrayal to the back. What would you all like to do?
Would I know the source of this emotion? Would I be able to identify this? I think that the party would see is Oleyna sort of uncomfortable in her own skin, which is sort of an odd vision. But she would carry on with the rest of the party.
Are you okay?
Perfectly fine, of course.
Of course. Moss will note the change in demeanor, but he's not going to push it at the time.
So what would you like to do? You're walking through the outermost district to the south of Dúnbrig, which is called Eliam's Grove. This district it's almost like a peaceful retreat. It's away from the hustle and bustle of the city, the inner ring of the city. There are gazebos and the arbors are nestled among trees. It's almost like a very fancy park. And anyone who might be familiar with the district knows that this district also houses the druidic enclave of the city, the Circle of Ivy.
I will just try and see if there's just any guard.
There are guards posted at every single entrance point to and from the city. That includes all of the district entrances. So as you are entering through Eliam's Grove, there are sort of gates to the city, denoting when you are leaving and entering the threshold of the city. So there are guards standing outside.
Neck will signal one over.
The guard sort of regards you with a little bit of suspicion. Yeah, how can I help you?
I'm Neck Sitnamor. Tell Ogun I have arrived immediately, and I will speak with him once I see my family.
He recognizes your name, and he recognizes the name that you say, obviously, Ogun. And he nods, and he gestures towards his companion, who you can tell by the markings on their chest plate. The one you spoke to is a senior officer. The one that he is speaking to is a junior officer. So he speaks to him, whispers to him, and the junior officer sort of hurries away deeper into the city. You will see Jet when you say the name Sitnamor, Jet looks at you. The most emotion you've ever seen on this man's face, flabbergasted. And he looks to himself like it looks like he's thinking to himself, have I been rude to this guy at all? I really hope I haven't been rude to this guy. And he keeps quiet, but you can see he straightens up a little bit more as you guys continue into the capital.
Sounds good.
So I believe we will start with Neck. Are you going to split off from the party at this point?
He'll kind of address the party and be like, I'm going to go see to my family. This is where my house relatively is. So if we need to, if you guys all want to come to my house or whatever, as kind of like a little pub while we're here or whatever. But I'm going to go see to my family.
I think that is good luck, Nick. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. And he'll skirt.
Neck, you find yourself in the residential district, which is not far from Eliam's Grove. Standing outside the door of your apartment, you can hear little voices beyond the threshold, and the smell of sweetbread permeates through the door into the hall. What do you do?
Oh, he opens that door.
You open the door, and there is a brief pause before a tiny body lunges at you, an even tinier voice crying out, "Daddy!" She's bigger than you remember her being, but as you hoist her up, she's still so small in your arms. She wraps her arms around your neck, burying her face into your neck, and you can feel the tears soaking you. You look beyond her and see another child standing there in the middle of the room. She looks at you wide-eyed, and it's like staring in a mirror. Your youngest, Ellis, was just 2 years old when you were sent off to war. And she seems to look back and forth between you and Tilly, who is still quietly crying in your arms, before after a long moment her face scrunches up, lip wobbling, and she marches over to you. Wooden sword in her hand, and she reels back, smacking you on the shin. Once, twice, 3 times. With each hit, you watch as more and more tears stream down her face, and anger in her that could only be yours. What would you like to do?
He's going to try and pick her up.
Her swings are growing weaker and weaker as her body trembles. She's still sobbing. It's that uncontrollable. She's gasping for breath as she continues to hit you before the last very weak hit to your shin, and the sword drops, and she allows herself to be picked up. And you hear another voice coming from the kitchen. "Girls, what are you?" You look to the doorway, expecting to see your wife, but instead you see your mother-in-law standing there. "Oh, Nick. You're welcome home."
And he'll look at her without saying anything in front of the kids, but he's like,
There's a flash of emotions across her face. "Nick, did you not receive my letters?" You've not received any letters from your mother-in-law.
I received a letter, a week and 5 days ago. I haven't received any from you.
She looks confused at the mention of a letter that you received a week ago. "That's... sweetheart." And tears begin to gather in her eyes. I had written you nearly a dozen times and hadn't heard anything back. I thought, and she looks to your children, and you can see grief in her eyes. She had thought them to be orphans. And you know in that moment, your wife is no longer here.
Neck holds his kids harder.
The two girls cling on to you, their father, the only living parent they have, one they haven't seen in nearly 2 years. And your mother-in-law approaches you. She had been doing better. Whatever treatments the healers had been attempting seemed to be working, and then she takes a deep breath, her own voice breaking. It was like the turn of a tide. She was with us one moment and gone the next. It's been 4 months now. Neck. Roll me a history check.
I'm used advantage on that.
Okay.
19 total.
4 months ago was when you were first sent off on your mission.
It's like he's just like processing it all and like stumbling kind of to find words.
Mm-hmm.
And then he just kind of like he's like and he'll like snap out of it and just like look to his kids and just be like, "You guys have grown so much."
Ellis, the littlest one, she seems to notice the change in your demeanor. You had been smiling when you entered through the door, and now there are tears in your eyes, and children are often more perceptive than you may give them credit for. And she excitedly picks up her sword. Daddy, look, I can swing my sword just like you can. And she'll start swinging her sword. She's trying to make you feel better.
Great technique. You'll be a fine sword wielder one day.
Tilly, the oldest, looks at her sister and sort of smacks the sword out of her hands. Ellis, stop it! Now's not the time! And the two begin to squabble, as they are sort of wont to do at this age. And maybe you feel a little bit of comfort by this.
Girls. I'm home. Let's not squabble. What do we say we go get some food?
And at that point, I would like to thank Lord Kasumba for the big ol' raid. Welcome on in, guys. You are entering just in time. I am traumatizing my players. Hi. Thank you so much for the raid, Jay. Welcome on in. And then we will go over to Eilif.
Howdy. Yeah. Eilif is going to make her way to Bookends, a store in, I believe, the Seagate district.
Yes.
In order to deliver her the package that she was given, acting as a mailman. Not really knowing what to expect in Dúnbrig. She doesn't I don't think there is a lot of people of the circle of the Ring of Ash here. So
Mhm.
she does like make sure to like keep some of her tattoos hidden. She like pockets a couple of things and makes sure that she's kind of unnoticeable as she travels through and making her way to the drop zone.
So the bookstore is quaint and small, located off of an alleyway off of one of the main streets in the Seagate district. You can tell it doesn't get much foot traffic, and the windows are dusty and you can barely see through them. Do you walk into the store?
No, I think I'll like knock.
So there's no answer, but you do note there is a tiny sign in the corner of the window that marks the store is open.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just open it up then.
Yeah. As you walk in, a small bell above the door gives a hollow ding, and a man peeks out from behind the stacks. He's human, from what you can tell, tall with a gaunt face and blonde hair that's pulled back, maybe a little bit slightly greasy. And Eilif, I have a very important question for you right now.
Yeah.
What do you look like?
I think Eilif would have not so much as like turned her whole body, but definitely made her eyes look normal and seem less threatening, more like an actual mailman. As a hi, I'm here to deliver something.
Okay.
Hi, I have your Amazon package.
So your face is the same though, right? You just kind of changed your eyes a little bit so that they're not the Aasimar eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. The man, as he peers out from behind the stacks, can I help you? And there's sort of as he looks at your face, his mouth sort of goes slack a little bit and he blinks. I'm sorry, can I help you?
Can I make an insight check as I'm like delivering his stuff to kind of gauge what he's feeling?
Yep. You sure can.
That's a D. I'm gonna fucking kill.
Stop trying to kill.
someone.
Stop trying to roll d12s.
I can't. Because I was like, why does that number look too big?
We love a D12 though.
Truly. 19?
That is more than good enough. It's not so much that he recognized you, that he recognized your features.
Okay. Weird. Yeah, I'll just I'll take out the package from the backpack and pull it out, and I believe this was yours?
He takes the package. There's nothing on it that might denote where it's from. However, maybe this man's not unfamiliar with this sort of smuggling process. He takes it, oh, thank you. And then he'll dig into his pocket and come out with a coin purse. You know that this is your fee. It's going to have 50 gold in it.
Okay. And I'll...
He looks unsure. He's still looking at your face like he's trying to place where he's seen you before. But he's not coming up with anything.
Okay. I will look at him and go, General, right?
Yeah.
It's weird. I've never seen you before, but it seems like you know me.
You look like someone I knew once.
Care to elaborate?
Not really.
So bad impression then.
He looks at you and he backs up a little bit, sort of gesturing for the door. You made your delivery?
I'll take 15 gold out of the pouch and put it back on the table, and I could also ask a couple questions.
He's looking at the gold. And you can tell this man likely doesn't have a whole lot of money. The 50 gold that he gave you was probably like all he had. So whatever is in this package is very important to him. You all right then?
So? I have to ask, who do I remind you of?
A woman I knew long ago.
A name I can have.
He shakes his head.
An entity?
Just a woman.
Well, unfortunate. Did you ever meet Willem?
He recognizes that name.
Right.
You can tell this man is not good at... There's no poker face for this man. He recognizes that name.
Right. When did you see her last?
Eilif, how old are you?
I believe we said Eilif was about 25?
25 years ago?
Where?
He's more cagey now. He said a few questions. I think that's 15 gold's worth.
I'll take out another 15 gold.
Roll me a persuasion check.
Can I roll an intimidation?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Make sure you use a D12.
Hold on. Got one. Perfect. I'm gonna use an advantage. That is gonna be a 24.
He is not going to take the gold. How do you intimidate him, first off?
I suppose the only, like, intimidation Eilif really knows is, like, the physical, like, I'm gonna murder you. I think she'll just, like, push her, like, cloak away from her, like, blade and just, like, look at him. Very clear on her intentions.
It definitely works. There's a panic in his eyes as he holds the package a bit tighter to his chest. And it's Mornstead, okay? That's the whole Mornstead. Now, please leave. And he will, despite you sort of brandishing a weapon, he'll sort of take a step forward, kind of coaxing you back towards the door.
Okay. Well, I bothered this guy enough. Yeah. I will leave the 15 gold on the, like, counter, and you never saw me.
He nods.
And I will leave.
Okay. As you leave, the door locks behind you. And you see, like, the little flip of the sign to closed. And you make your way back through Dúnbrig, and we're going to jump over to Moss and Oleyna.
You ever been here before?
No, I embarrassingly to say, I spent most of my life in Solus. I have not really gone further beyond the island. Not until we left, of course.
Obviously. I didn't leave my home for quite some time either.
There wasn't really much reason to leave. It was simply the Gilded Cage kept me well occupied, and, well, there's other ventures to be had. This book. Nick has the book, I think. Damn it.
He does. He's probably... Well, we didn't find out where he lived.
He's in that area back in that entrance to the city. I'm sure we can find him quite easily, and he can find us. Although we could ask about the book. We could ask about tomes that are unlockable, or locks that are guarding tomes.
True. We may be able to find some information at the library as well. I know there are some things mentioned I would like to look upon.
I'm not one for a library. It's not really my sort of cup of tea. But I'm sure there's a shop or two that I can find myself lost in, and a shopkeep that might have some information. Plus, she looks down at her hands, and her nails are like overgrown and not perfect, and she's like very irritated by that. I have some other errands to run.
Well, we shall meet this evening.
Yes, we'll return back to Neck's home of residence. Hopefully everything went well with his wife. Sorry.
Too soon? Too soon?
All right, guys, I'm gonna be right back.
I don't really feel super comfortable staying in the home of a man that doesn't really take kindly to my occupation. So perhaps after we meet there, we can find a brothel to stay in. I can do some work.
Well, they always do have good food, and sometimes I can make money there. Nonetheless, I can see if I can hear of anything going on in town.
Truly, the almighty coin is what I am most concerned about, but this book. So, do you want to perhaps come up and find me? I should be somewhere shopping.
Oh, sure, I'll go to the library. You enjoy your afternoon.
I'm sure I will. Enjoy your book reading. I'll be doing all the talking.
Next, just kind of give you a sly smile, and
Neck will?
I'm sorry, Moss will. Who's Neck? Sorry, he's,
Dealing with his wife.
Yeah, look, I wasn't crying, you were. Anyway, Moss will give you a sly smile and just kind of look at you. No idea where the library is. I also have no idea where the shopping district is.
You guys will notice, trailing behind you this entire time have been Jet and Som.
I think slowly Oleyna's gonna turn. Her eyes will hit Jet first, and she's like, whatever. And then she'll look at Som, and then she sort of gets like the dazzly, like starry-eyed look on her face, and that's a pretty rare sight for Moss to see, for her to actually genuinely be like, he can get some for free.
Som is just a statue, dude. Just
I think that's part of the challenge.
really into that.
Can I make that man blush? Gentlemen, can I help you?
Jet's sort of standing there, and he's like, you said you were looking for the library.
Well, Moss's.
Yes.
Well, he looks so like he doesn't want to be here, but he feels like maybe he owes you guys a little bit. You'd be looking for the archives. That's where I work. If you want to follow me, I need to go deliver some packages before I go home for the night.
Sounds good. And Moss will look to Oleyna. Meet you in the shopping district in a few hours?
Certainly. I'm sure I'll be easily found.
Something tells me I could spot you in a crowd.
Just find the crowd that's circling around and in awe of my beauty and grace. So,
Always so humble, and Moss will give you a slight bow and just kind of giggle as he walks away. Shall
So
we?
Jet is going to, yeah, come on. And Jet and Moss, you take off in one direction. Som stands there with you, Oleyna. And he like grunts at you, and then he starts to walk. You think that might mean follow me.
she's going to follow him. And she's kind of like skipping. She's like a little pep in her step. She's like, okay, hanging out with Som.
He is, boy, is he a tough nut to crack. He doesn't look back at you as you're walking. He just keeps walking forward, kind of just trusting that you're following after him. And as you guys weave your way through the city, you can see these like residential homes sort of start to give way to storefronts and markets, and there's entire stalls and everything. You're clearly entering into the whatever commercial district Dúnbrig has. And roll me a perception check at disadvantage because you're skipping.
Fuck off. It's an 11 on the die. Let me see what it said. Perception. It's still a 16.
Okay. You stop short just in time before you run directly into the back of Som, who has stopped in front of a building.
Can I just tell you, can we just nix that roll? Can I just be so oblivious and
Oh yeah.
And I just run right into him?
It's like running into a brick wall. This man is built. And he does not even move as you just full barrel like skip right on into him.
Amazing.
And he looks down at you. And then he'll sort of gesture up to the store. He has led you to a salon.
I don't think Som has actually spoken 2 words to Oleyna.
No.
Som, why do you know where this is?
He holds his hands out. They are like perfectly manicured.
Can I reach forward? May I?
He'll nod.
She'll take his hands and like really inspect the quality of this work. And sort of glance up to him, and she's like trying to like eye flirt with him, but I suspect this isn't like going very well for her. And she's just kind of like quivering because she got to touch Som.
He's gonna walk in to the salon, and you hear several voices. Welcome back, Som. Oh my god, welcome back. You've been away for so long. He is a regular here.
Of course he is. Oleyna's just gonna follow in behind him, like sort of like amazed at this information that she has acquired. She does not know what to do with this. She's okay. Oleyna is a woman who, in her experience and occupation, is like uses information against people or for people. Information is very vital to her in her endeavors, and most importantly, the use of it. There's no use for this information. This is just, she just knows this now.
And it's like, you can also tell that this is not a fact that's embarrassing to Som. Like,
No.
some men would be like, no, I would never go to no.
He's very like,
I don't get a
whatever about it.
manicure. He's like, no, I take very great pride in my appearance. And you can tell, like, his hair is always well oiled. It's always, he never looks dirty, even like while on the road. He seems to be a person who actually takes very great like pride in their appearance as well as their physical skill.
She has no idea what to do with this information, and she fucking hates that. But Nevertheless, she'll walk in and sort of like take a look around and take in the quality of this place and look for, an open spot if they are taking walk-ins.
You walk in and it's very light, very bubbly, very welcoming. You can smell maybe some candles are burning to it smells like warm vanilla. Som immediately beelines towards a little gnomish woman who has her table open, and he just sits down and with his hands out. It's kind of comical, this large burly man sitting in like a small little, like he's on like a little stool in front of this tiny little gnome lady. There's another elven woman sitting directly next to the gnomish woman, and she kind of beckons you over.
Yes, of course. And Oleyna will immediately walk over and sit down, and she's done this 100 million times before. She knows the routine of this sort of pampering.
Mm-hmm. The elven woman introduces herself as Lena.
Lena.
And what can I do for you today?
Lena, I'm in dire need. And she sort of makes a comical moment of it and shows her hands. They're really not that bad, but they're not pristine and perfect. Now, Lena, I have a very specific look in mind. I hope you can accomplish it. I would like them long. I would like them sharp. Okay. I would like them to look as if they have been dipped in amethyst. Yeah.
Okay, she's like gathering supplies as you're speaking. Yeah, she's like looking at nail polishes.
I would also like it to look as if smoke is coming along them, but if the smoke were to be made of gold. I would also like them to look almost a little bit iridescent. And she sort of waves to the rest of her. And I would like charms, whatever charms and jewels and other silly cutesy things you can make this. I like to make a little noise when I use my hands.
She's like, oh, I get it. It makes you feel so fancy when you waving your hands around when you're talking, and
yes.
Little twinkle goes on.
Exactly.
She is like, she's got like everything ready as you're describing this, and she sets off and starts to go through the entire process of doing your nails, and you are amazed, but perhaps you're more amazed by the big burly man sitting next to you and how he patiently just sits there, just letting the little gnomish lady just do her thing.
I love this so much. I think while she's getting her nails done, she does want to lean over and ask Lena, careful with how she words this in front of Som. I have a friend, a gentleman caller, if you will, who is most interested in packs and magic.
Oh.
Do you happen to know of any shops that would cater to that? I am simply a kept woman,
See, I mean, you go to the Enchanter's Cay, that there are quite a few shops there, but it can be a bit overwhelming. As you know, Dúnbrig is the arcane city. We have a lot of shops and colleges and schools for magics. Place I would recommend would be Looming Moon.
Oh.
The shopkeep is quite handsome, too.
Oh. Now, I'm a kept woman, but not necessarily a betrothed woman.
You can look. There's nothing wrong with looking.
Absolutely, I agree. And she sort of glances over at Som.
She's like filing your nails, just like, there's nothing wrong with looking.
Absolutely not, you're right. And where would this shop be?
She will give you directions to the Enchanter's Cay, which is a district over from the Stardust Market, which is where you're currently in. She will let you know it's down a little alleyway. And she kind of looks to Som. I'm sure he wouldn't mind actually showing you as well. He should know where it is.
She'll look at Som and sort of clear her throat to get his attention.
Som, he turns to you and he grunts. And the limited interaction you've had with Som, this is a grunt of confirmation, a grunt of agreement. He's been listening. He was listening to your conversation.
She'll sort of watch Som for a moment. And I think that he would take note of a little bit of frustration on her face with him. Like, we can talk. We can have a conversation. Like, it's okay. But she doesn't really push the subjects.
Hold on, I'm gonna roll some. I actually don't have my dice with me right now. I know. I was like, it's just gonna be all RP. I'm not gonna need to roll shit. Just kidding. Okay. He, in the same way that you have may have grown accustomed to Som, with what little interaction you've really had over the last month or two of traveling with the caravan, he perhaps has also grown accustomed to you as well. And he knows from what he's watched of you that you are a woman who will inevitably get what she wants. And he'll turn to you and in a low voice go, I can take you to the Looming Moon.
That would be most gracious. I hope I'm not holding you up from other tasks.
He'll shake his head. Contract ended as soon as I came to the city with Jet, so...
I see. Curious. She makes note of this. And so, sort of look back to Lena and sort of look over the work that she's doing and sort of oohs and ahs over it.
She is. Do you love it? You love it, right? I love it.
It's the most beautiful set I have ever seen in my entire life.
If I could just preserve this forever, I would, because I don't think anything I do will ever top this.
Lena, my dear, if I'm in the city, keep a standing appointment for me.
Of course.
And she's gonna reach into within her robes and whatnot, and how much do I owe you, dear?
That will be 20 gold, she'll tell you. For all the bits and bobs.
Olena's gonna go ahead and give her 50.
She, holds a hand to her chest. She's, that is most kind of you, Miss Oleyna.
Oh dear, it's well earned, I can assure you. And she'll look over to Som to see if he's finished or not.
He's been sort of sitting there for maybe about 10 minutes before you finished, just waiting for his nails. He's kind of just sitting there, staring at his nails, waiting for them to finish drying. It's quite endearing, actually. He seems very, very concerned with not smudging up the work that his little gnomish nail lady did. So he's just waiting. He's waiting, and he keeps kind of looking down, then looking back at her, looking down, looking back at her, for her to give him the go ahead that it's okay for him to move his hands.
She's impressed by this, and she'll sort of look at Som over and say, "Now, there's much in this life that I expect, but this was not it, and I think I'm all the wiser for it."
Shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
She sort of chuckles at this. And she just assumes that Som does not really enjoy her company because of her occupation. She sort of assumes anybody who doesn't treat her with absolute delight, she assumes that's the reason why, just because she cannot imagine anybody disliking her for any other reason, because she is perfect in every way possible.
Obviously, yeah.
She has never done anything wrong in her life.
Mm-hmm.
And she sort of just laughs at that remark and says, "I wish that I could tell more people that."
He will look at you, and this is like probably the first time he actually meets your eyes. Most people only see what they want to see in someone. You shouldn't carry the burden of other people's opinions on yourself.
I think she's a little bit taken aback by this. Quite philosophical of you, Som. You truly are full of surprises.
The gnomish woman. Okay, Som, you are good to go. And he will take out a little coin purse and sort of very gently put the allotted amount plus a generous tip onto her table. And he will stand up. Are you ready to go?
That I am. Lead the way. And she'll follow him. But this time she's going to keep pace with him and walk next to him.
You will note that when you guys were on your way here, he was taking long strides. He's a tall man. His strides are going to be long to begin with. But now he slowed himself down this time as you guys are walking to the Enchanter's Cay. He has slowed himself down to allow you to not struggle to keep up with him.
We're going to Enchanter's Cay or the Hanging Moon?
The Enchanter's Cay is the district, the district that it's in.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Olenya's gonna sort of look up to him and ask very quietly, and to not take your advice, what is your opinion of me?
He thinks for a moment. I think you're a woman with goals who will do anything to accomplish those goals, and who has the drive to do that.
When you put it that way, it seems a bit ruthless.
Not ruthless. Some people would rather give up, take the easy way out in life, let life come and go as it wills. To take control of your own life and your own destiny requires bravery and cunning that most people do not have.
Well, that's quite the opinion you have. Thank you. And she'll walk along with him.
We will now cut to Jet and Moss as you make your way towards the archives.
So Moss will just kind of follow along quietly for a while. He's kind of mulling over a lot in his head right now, things he wants to research, things that's happened. So unless small talk is initiated upon him, he's going to kind of be in contemplation mode while following.
You guys are going to be walking along for a little bit, and Jet's going to look over at you. Your father doesn't work for the archives, does he?
No, my father is not in Dúnbrig.
Ah, well. Alright. He seems
Does
to
your
relax a
father-
little bit at this.
Does your father work for the archives? You're just trying to make sure that I didn't know your boss?
You can tell by, like, the side glance that he kind of gives you, it was definitely the second.
Oh, your secrets are safe with me. I keep secrets all the time.
I appreciate that. And as you approach the archives, they are a massive building. It's a massive building. You would know the archives are not like some well-kept secret or anything with Tirfian. The archives are basically like a database of the history of the country and of the continent itself, of Kilshiag. You know that there are tombs and books and scrolls that you're not going to have access to here. But you also know there is a public library section as well that is free to the public. And Jet is going to kind of direct you towards that area.
As we're kind of walking up and he directs me to that area, I will just kind of ask, what would be the cost to get something not normally available?
Well, that would entirely depend on what the contents of the subject are. There are things that even I myself as a scribe have no access to, that only the High Archivist will have access to, and it's a very long and arduous process of going through the approval most of the time, unless you know someone who knows someone.
And do you know anything of your time as a scribe? Have you researched and known anything of the in-between?
He kind of thinks. Roll for him. He thinks for a moment. Well, not research I've done personally, so I would feel uncomfortable giving you information orally. But I can point you in the direction of the section where you might find such information in the public library section.
What would be most helpful?
As your now personal librarian, Jet is going to lead you into the public library area of the archives. The librarian at the counter, actually, normally you imagine, you see other people walking in and they're walking up to the counter to sort of check in, but they see Jet and they sort of wave to him and kind of pay you no mind since you seem to be in company with him. And he will lead you through these stacks, up some stairs. This place is huge. There are so many books, so many scrolls, so many tomes. And he will lead you up some stairs into a very almost isolated corner of the library. Not a lot of people seem to be here. This seems to be this is about like deep arcane magic area. And he will sort of gesture kind of vaguely. Should be somewhere in this area, I would imagine. Is there anything else that you would like to research as well?
The only other thing I'm looking for is kind of protection spells one would put upon a tome, and how one might go about removing those, or any kind of specific books that have specific spells or latches, arcane locks put upon them.
He'll sort of nod. He's like, I'll actually go fetch those for you. And he will disappear to leave you to kind of rummage through this section.
So looking around, Moss is alone?
Yes, I mean, there are other people sort of milling about, but they are like 3 or 4 stacks over, like not near you at all.
Moss is gonna kind of... Normally when you see Moss, he's got his smile on, he's shoulders forward, trying to get whatever done, or at least trying to make somebody smile. When Moss kind of looks around and notices that no one's looking at him and he's not really... doesn't feel responsible to make other people happy, he's just gonna kind of breathe a huge sigh and just kind of begin looking through the books very slowly, just trying to find anything he can.
So if you want to give me a investigation roll, see if you can find books on the
18.
in-between. 18? Ow, fuck.
Don't do that.
So you find several books, several arcane research books that share some theories about something dubbed the Ethereal Veil. what it's described as is a mystical boundary that separates the material world, which is the world that you live in, from the ethereal dimensions. It's like an invisible tapestry of magical energies that exists in the spaces between reality, creating a nexus where the laws of physics and magic sort of intertwine. It is stressed in these books that this is just a theory. This is not something that has been widely accepted among the arcane researchers. And there seems to be a lot of debate about the existence of this so-called veil.
Can he look around for books? Maybe not even in the arcane section, but like opinionated pieces of people who believe that it exists.
Oh yeah.
And how one might get there or get through it.
Sorry, I'm chewing ice. Sorry, guys. So you will actually, surprisingly enough, these research papers are actually kind of free to the public because a lot of them have been sort of chalked up to almost like conspiracy theories. Like, they're ridiculous. This has not been proven. There is no research or any sort of supportive evidence for this to exist. So it's kind of very easy to find these things because it's not considered real. So you will find a couple of papers that speak a little bit more in depth about it, where they refer to these in-between dimensions, often refer to the existence of realms or spaces that exist outside of the understanding of space and time. A lot of these serve almost as bridges or transitional zones between different planes of reality. And you think about the room that you had found the book in, and how it seemed like it might have been a pocket dimension, and you think that maybe there might be some connection there. There are mentions of something called temporal currents, which indicates that time in the ethereal veil is fluid. It's kind of subject to the ebb and flow of these temporal currents. People may experience time dilation, causing minutes in one dimension to translate to hours in another. And then, because the ethereal veil doesn't quite adhere to the laws of the material plane, physics and time, there's also echoes of countless possibilities that ripple through the fabric of reality. So sometimes people have said that there's a chance of experiencing glimpses of alternate timelines and potential futures. Someone had even mentioned in one of their papers that this may be the basis for divination magic. But again, it's been there's a lot of pushback against this being used in any sort of actual academic setting. And the last thing that you're able to find is something about nexus nodes, which seem to be key points where the barriers between the dimensions are thin. There's not any sort of documentation of where these nodes actually are, just that they may be in existence. And again, you find yourself thinking back to that mirror that you had walked through to enter into that pocket dimension.
Moss will kind of try to take all this in, because now that he knows he's kind of been there to a certain extent, it's going to kind of hit him that maybe these people aren't crazy. Is there a name of an author or anybody on this paper?
There is. So it actually seems to have been almost redacted. This obviously, because this is a public, there's going to be a lot of information that's going to be redacted. But the author's name has been redacted.
Okay, he will just kind of peruse over the information while he waits for Jet to return, or look and see if he can see him to go find him.
Did you want to research anything else while Jet is meandering? This motherfucker's going to take a while. He's on his own time.
Okay. Moss would like to kind of look around and look for any sort of books about resurrections or voices from beyond type thing.
Roll me another investigation check.
20, 30.
Oh, okay. That's gonna get you quite a bit. So, there has been documentation about people being brought back from the brink of death, but those are people who have not yet began their journey to the after. And you know, the after is the plane where it is said all souls come from, where all souls go after their life is concluded here on this plane. You know about the matron. The matron is the goddess of life and death. She is the goddess of the cycle of life. She is the one who ferries these souls. She represents life and death and the cycle in between, and that cycle is considered sacred and unbreakable. There are theories on actually not really theories, there are rumors of a new school of magic that has originated from the country of Ruin within the last millennia. And it involves breaking this cycle, disrupting this cycle. And that is the school of necromancy. And it's a school of magic that seems to explore the cosmic forces of life and death and undeath. There's not really much else that can be found on this subject. If you actually want to roll me a history check.
$22. I'm rolling very well on these.
So, from what you know of Ruin, it is a very self-insulated country. It's newer. You know that it's newer than Tirfian. It probably emerged maybe 600 years ago. But there's not a whole lot that people, the general populace, know about Ruin. It's sort of mysterious. You don't get many travelers from Ruin, at least not ones who will openly declare they're from Ruin. Getting into Ruin, you've heard, is quite a process. They are very rigorous in allowing people into their country. You know that people have been detained before for trying to enter into Ruin. It's a very mysterious country. You've never met someone from there before. And roll me another investigation check.
23.
Okay. So this is more of a bit of lore tidbit for you. But as you were sort of delving into the resurrection, you stumble upon entries about reincarnation. And there's a lot of theories on souls that sort of float around, because souls is something that it's almost like there's not. How do you prove a soul? How do you prove their soul? How do you prove anything about souls? But there are theories on souls. The amount of souls is finite in the world. Reincarnation is not relinquished to a linear progression. Souls are ferried back and forth through time itself, not just between the after plane of the dead and the mortal plane, the plane of the living. And at that point, as you're sort of finishing up, Jet will come over with about 3 or 4 books in a stack and sort of just plop them on the desk. Yeah, I'm a bit hungry, so I'm gonna leave now. Just make sure to clean up on your way out.
Thank you again.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye. And he'll just kind of like flitter off.
Moss will kind of look at the books and begin looking through them. He's looking for notable books in history or notable arcane books, specifically anything about breaking a arcane lock or spell which holds a book closed.
So you find a lot about, and a lot of these are actually these arcane books. A lot of them have like spells. Like there's a lot of spells involved here, because that's how you lock something with magic. You use a spell. You might recognize some of these spells. Arcane Lock is one of them. But Arcane Lock, whatever was affecting the book that you found, it's not Arcane Lock. It's something deeper. There's talks of using the spell Knock to unlock something, but you have a feeling that this won't work. That there's some sort of imprint on this book. There's something that is needed specifically to open this book, and there are mentions of that in these books that you're reading. Mentions of the residual magic of something being used, like your specific magical aura being used to unlock something. The use of items in particular to open something. Sometimes there is a magical lock might have a magical key. And that key is not necessarily a physical key, but it could be something else. It could be another object. So as you're sort of reading through this, you are sort of getting the notion that if you are to unlock this book, it's less of a question of how to unlock this book, but who locked it to begin with.
And I don't have the book with me, so I can't study it for any sort of incantations or markings.
Well,
And to
you
my
would know.
knowledge-
You guys did a pretty thorough investigation check of the book when you found it.
Mhm.
There was nothing on this book that nothing that would have denoted any sort of school of magic. No author, owner, no sigils, no nothing on this book. It was like a plain leather book that was bound by some sort of mechanical device that was imbued with magic, which sealed it.
And is there anything in these books about the amalgamation of mechanical and magical?
This seems to be a new thing that is developing. The use of something mechanical and combining it with magical essence. It's almost like a new school of magic. There's not a whole lot that is reported. A lot of the practitioners of this often aren't academics themselves. A lot of them are inventors, tinkerers, who happen to have an affinity for magic. So whatever information you might be able to find, it actually might be more confidential, so you might not have access to it here in the public library.
Moss is going to breathe a heavy sigh and just kind of put his hand on his head. I have to go home. And he will start putting the books away and trying to make it look at least kind of like it did before.
You'll notice that there are little book carts at the end of each of these stacks, and that's sort of where it's signified where you would put books that you have been looking at, so that the librarians can go in and put them where they belong and not trust the patrons to do so, because they don't know how to operate the Dewey Decimal System.
Almost sounds personal.
It is.
I know. All right, and Moss is he feels good that he found information. He feels like he's gotten more questions than answers now.
Mm-hmm.
But at least he feels like he knows what his next step is. So he's not looking forward to the next step, but he feels like he knows what it's got to be.
Yep. And as you leave the library, the archives, that's where we're going to take our first break. So stick around, guys. We will be back in 5 to 10 minutes, depending on if people have stuff to do really quickly. And I'll talk to you guys in just a few. Bye! Hello, everyone. Hi. We were just talking about how I traumatized my husband. He thought his wife was gonna still be alive. Joke's on him. She's been dead for a while. So last we left off, Neck was reuniting with what was left of his family.
You gotta say it like that, man.
But you do know that you are still on a mission. You have not completed your mission yet.
So, they'll be walking home with the kids. They'll get to the door. Be like, I'll be gone just a minute. I need to go talk to some people. Love you both. I will be back very quickly.
They seem a little hesitant because that's definitely what you said when you left to go to war. And they sort of like cling to your legs, but after a little bit of coaxing, they will let go. Your mother-in-law does sort of usher them off. It is getting late. It's time for them to wash up, have a bath, go to bed. And you set off.
He'll actually stop. He'll like look at the mother-in-law. Did I get a package?
A package, dear.
Okay, I guess I didn't. Don't worry about it.
Well, okay.
And then he'll set off.
So you are going to make your way to Silver Spire Heights, and that is where you know Ogun's office to be. You make your way through the Silver Spire Heights quite easily. You give your name, your rank, the reason that you are here, and you are let through. You know your way to Ogun's office. You've been there before. And you knock on the door, and you get told, just a moment, from inside. And as you wait outside of Ogun's office, there is a soft choir of murmuring from your left that catches your attention. As you look, a gaggle of handmaidens follow behind two elegantly dressed young women, like mirror images of each other. The women are pale, with long raven hair that ends in loose ringlets. Now, Neck, you've never seen the Mad Queens before, despite having spent most of your life in the capital, and they are notoriously reclusive, preferring to stay within the confines of the keep. But you know instantly who these women are. They walk in a steady rhythm in unison with one another, and as they continue to approach, a feeling of unease settles in your gut, and time seems to slow. The only sound that fills the hall now are the whispers of their handmaidens and the click of heels against the marble floor. As they pass by you, you catch two sets of obsidian eyes slide your way for the smallest of moments, though their heads remain facing forward. As you look each one of them in the eyes, you feel your throat tighten. Then, their eyes are looking ahead once again, and time resumes as normal, but you're left with a pit in your stomach. As they disappear down the hall, the door to Ogun's office opens, and you're met with the tall, intimidating form of Ogun Nesgar, the commander of the Black Banners. He regards you with a bit of a nod and gestures you to come into his office. It's minimal, with sparse furniture, the office of someone who probably doesn't spend a whole lot of time behind his desk, which he goes to sit at rather stiffly. Nick? No trouble along the way, I hope. He's sort of looking you up and down, but you can tell he's not concerned about if you have any sort of injuries, but to see if you have the package you were instructed to deliver.
He'll kind of like unclasp part of his like armor, pull it out.
He holds a hand out.
Gives it open.
He kind of looks at the package. Doesn't open it. Doesn't open it to ensure that what's inside is inside. Sort of trusts that you are loyal. And he opens a drawer on his desk and sets it inside. Your journey was well then.
Journey was fine.
Ah, well. I imagine you'll want to spend a little bit of time with your family before heading back out into the field. Consider this my personal grantage of short leave. Give you a month leave, I would imagine is fine.
Were you aware?
He looks confused. Maybe put on fusion. Aware of what?
About the same time I leave for this journey, my wife passes.
He leans back in his chair. Well, the last I heard, your wife was doing quite well with the treatment from our healers, so I'm terribly sorry for your loss, though. Roll an insight check.
I used the nat 20.
Yeah.
So 24.
He's lying.
Why lie to my face? You know me. You know why I do this.
He leans forward in his chair now. I'd be real careful where we take this conversation neck. You know above anyone else the greater good that we serve.
And you know how good I am at what I do. Yet you couldn't even inform me. You couldn't give me more time to deal with the broken home that I've come back to.
Would have been a distraction, Nick. Look how you are now. Clearly you're distracted, even now. We had a mission for you.
You know, I don't let that stuff get in the way of missions.
Are you telling me you wouldn't have come home right away at the news that your wife had died? Sabotaging everything that we had worked for.
I would have cut the little dilly-dallies that some of the group and caravan needed to tend to.
This was before you were back in the country. And you know what he means. Your wife had died before you had left the camp outside of Mornstead.
Like, we'll see what I plan to do in a month. I'll, like, go to leave.
He'll nod. There's kind of a keenness in his eyes now as he watches you leave. You know how the Black Banners work. You know that there's going to be someone watching you now. You had hostility in your voice when you spoke to Ogun. And any inkling of weakness in the Black Banners is not tolerated.
He'll look at, like, right before he leaves, He'll look Ogun directly in the eyes and be like, I look forward to whoever you send. And he'll close the door behind him.
You hear a laugh as the door closes.
And then he'll go to wherever he would need to go to pick up his armor and stuff.
You will actually make your way to the Heartstone smithy. You will actually see Kata's husband is working there. He is the one that has been manning shop since they had embarked, her and Camus had embarked south to get some materials and rare minerals from the south of the country. And you pick up your armor. No kind of fuss about it. Your armor for the army is beautiful, for one. Maybe gaudy, even. It's gold with the symbol of the Diaga household, a crescent moon with a star and a crown atop it. And there are mantles attached as well, black and white mantles, which are the house colors for House Diaga.
Nick will just like take a bit and just kind of wander. He'll take kind of like the long way home, and then just he'll make his way home.
You make your way home. Your mother-in-law greets you. She has put the girls to bed. This seems to have been quite a emotionally heavy day for everyone. And she's sort of quick to situate you back in your room, the room that you had shared with your wife, before returning to her own room for the night.
Nick will like be laying in the bed, and then he'll get up at some point and like just go lay on, couch, or just prop up in a chair.
Yeah,
really
you guys
anywhere
have a couch.
else.
You have a
Yeah.
couch. I imagine that you'd probably just maybe one of the children's blankets that has been laying on the floor and just laying on the couch with that.
Yeah, just anywhere but that bed for right now.
We are going to move across the city to the Seagate district. The Eilif.
Hello.
Hi. So, you know that your contact, your information broker, operates out of the White Bottle Tavern in the Seagate district. Is that where you would like to make your way to?
Yes.
So-
now that I have delivered my package, I'm a good mailman, dude.
You're a very good. That's why you get paid the big bucks.
A big boy.
So, from the outside, the White Bottle Tavern looks homey and inviting. Sandstone bricks and well-crafted wooden beams make up most of the building's outer structure. It's hard to see through the high windows, but the liveliness from within can be felt outside. It's almost nighttime now. The sun is just setting. As you enter, you're welcomed by the smell of alcohol and cheerful singing. The bartender is buried in orders, but still manages to welcome you with a friendly nod. The tavern itself is packed. Several long tables are occupied, and other smaller tables are also occupied by people who are playing games, and judging by their laughter, either telling great jokes or perhaps embarrassing tales. Even most of the stools at the bar are occupied, though nobody seems to mind the company. There's a waitress flitting about with trays of ale and mead, ferrying empty mugs back to the bar. You spot your contact perched up in a dark corner table where they have the perfect view of the entire bar, cloaked with a mask of brass and steel covering their face. You can't see their eyes, but you know that they are watching you the moment you enter the tavern, following you until you stand before them at the table. There's a slight tilt to their head to signal you to take a seat.
Eilif will take a seat. It is worthy of note that while she has been with the group, she's been rather friendly, and now that has kind of gone out the window as she is. There's like an air of light nervousness, but she also knows that this person is probably dangerous, and any kind of fear or friendliness is not really welcome.
Mm-hmm. So, you take a seat?
Yeah.
There are 2 mugs of ale on the table, one that is clearly for them, though you can't really imagine how they're actually drinking from it, given the mask on their face. And they gesture to the other mug of ale for you, offering it to you. And with their other hand, they pluck a letter out from their coat pocket, placing it on the table and sliding it over to you.
Would I know if I have any remaining balance with him, or if it's just I've just been paying him every time?
You know that Saris has been paying him.
Right. I will take it. Is there any like indication as to if there's like a wax seal on it or anything?
There's a wax seal. It's a dark blue colored wax seal. No formal insignia. So it was likely just sealed with a flat surface, a flat stamp.
Okay.
Which you would understand, like, this guy doesn't want any sort of ties being made to him. He's wearing a mask in a crowded bar.
The man's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll open it up and read it.
Okay. So you will read, my contacts have led to a dead end on your mother and son. With so many refugees and the army going in and out of the area, it's been nearly impossible to keep track of where people have ended up. But I had my contacts on the lookout nevertheless. Your husband, however, has not shown back up in the country. If he's a fool, he would have gone further into Beathanwa only to be killed, but I doubt someone of his standing would be foolish enough to do that. Unfortunately, the only other place he could be is where I have no reach. Ruin.
She'll kind of hold it and fold it. That's it?
He gives a nod. It's kind of menacing with the mask, honestly.
There's kind of she has this kind of disgusted look on her face as she like asks him, so no barns or anything?
He shakes his head.
Greatest gift he could have given me was being dead.
Oddly enough,
somewhere we can get it.
Oddly enough, he seems to laugh at that.
Yeah. I'll take the ale and I'll like chug it down and just in her strange new addiction, she like pulls another cigarette, lights it as she, are you gonna keep looking, or is this the end?
He, in the letter, he said he still has his contacts on the lookout for your mother and son. So he'll tap the table twice, which indicates yes, he will keep looking. You don't know a whole lot about this individual, but from what Saris has said, he is the person who, if you want something done, you go to him. So it's likely that he is not going to stop looking. His contacts are not going to stop looking until they have been found.
In your expert opinion, do you think they can be found? Either of them. All
He
three.
nods. He takes out a piece of paper and writes down something, and he slides it over to you, and it says, "After the war is done, it'll be easier to track them down."
Yeah. About 15 years then.
He takes the paper back, and he writes one word, and it says "soon."
I'm not as optimistic.
He laughs a bit. You have a feeling he knows something that you don't. Which is a lot of things, but something in particular about the war.
Well, if there's any way I can help it end sooner, let me know. Or, I suppose, let him know, and then he'll let me know.
He nods.
Right. I will take the paper, or the letter, and I will put it in my pocket, and I will leave. Finding a tavern, or more likely a brothel, that I think would be upper class enough for Oleyna to be there.
So you'll be able to make your way into the Stardust Market district, which is sort of like the commercial district. And you will find the Diamond Hollow brothel.
Okay. I will look around. Am I allowed in? I assume I am.
I mean, are you going to be weird, or?
No, I'm just looking for Oleyna.
You're allowed in, yes.
Awesome. They got food.
They do. They do have food. They don't have ribs. The ribs aren't as good as the Ladies' Embrace, unfortunately.
Ugh. Yeah, I think it'll be more of just, she will ask for a room, and a companion.
What kind of companion you want? What are you looking for?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
She's just like whoever is pretty and doesn't talk a lot.
Okay. So, there is a pretty human woman. Nell, she introduces herself as.
Yeah. She'll pay for her and the room and take her plate of food upstairs. How much is she so that I can mark it off?
It's going to be 15 gold.
That's fine. I've been throwing that around all day. I'll pay her 15 gold, and I'll just, as far away as she can get from me, I'll tell her to just go over there.
She's a little confused. She had like kind of already begun to like disrobe. And then when you're like, "Oh, sit over there," she kind of, oh, okay. And she will sit in one of the armchairs near the window of the room if you sit on like the bed or something.
Yeah. I assume there's like a little table where she can like eat her food in peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she'll like put her plate down, put down some ale, and more likely a lot of like whiskey. And she'll just like eat and kind of drift off into her own thoughts. And I will tell her, not bothering to learn her name.
Mm-hmm.
If you see a woman, purple skin, very pretty, named Oleyna, she's iridescent. You'll note her from a mile away.
Oh, okay. Did you want me to service you in any way, or?
I don't know how this works. I just wanted somebody to keep coming in here with food and alcohol. So.
Okay, so
I suppose.
You don't want me to, like...
No.
Okay.
Don't
Do you
touch
want...
me.
Oh, okay. perfectly fine. I am happy to accept the coin for doing nothing except for bringing you drink and food.
Right.
She's gonna go back. She's gonna leave the room, kind of taking note of like what you might be low on in terms of food and drink, and she will leave the room. At this point, I will say, Oleyna and Moss, what are you two up to? We'll start with Oleyna.
Olenya's going through some magic shops with Psalm, and she's pretending that in her head she's pretending it's a date.
I love that. I will ask, Moss, would you have tried to find Oleyna after leaving the library, or would you have made your way somewhere else?
Moss got a little bit of a heavy head at the moment, so he would slowly, like, start trying to look for her.
Okay, so
But
you're
he wouldn't
actually
be pressing or trying real hard.
so you're actually already in the Enchanter's Cay because that is where the archives are. So I'm going to say that you, as Psalm is sort of leading you to the Looming Moon, Oleyna, you spot a mop of curly hair in the crowd that you instantly recognize.
I think begrudgingly, on her pretend date with Psalm, she's going to wave out to Moss and call out to him. Moss dear.
Oh, good afternoon. Sure, shopping productive.
And she shows her nails to Moss.
They're very nice nails, like the nicest nails you have ever seen.
That is incredible.
Psalm also holds his hands out.
Oh, and yours, immaculate. I did not know you were such a man of class.
He nods.
Well, I'm glad you both enjoyed.
I think that at this point, Oleyna is bold enough around Psalm that she's going to wrap her arm around his. As long as he doesn't like shrug her off.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, he lets you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I intruding?
No, certainly not. We're just two pals out on the town shopping.
Moss will look at Psalm.
He nods. Two pals. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I did find some information, but not a lot about the book, unfortunately.
Well, I think we're going into a store for the arcane to look for some information. I'm wondering if I could probably procure something from the shopkeeper.
If anyone can get them to talk, it's you.
Oh, I can do a lot more than that, but yes.
That's fair.
And
right.
she'll look up at Psalm and say, "Well,"
and he'll start walking.
Moss
He
is
actually
gonna-
he holds
oh,
he
sorry.
holds an arm out to Moss just in case Moss wants to take his other arm.
I love him so much. This boy is too pure.
Moss will kind of look at the arm and say, "Thank you, but I think I want to play a bit." And he will pull out his lute and just kind of begin plucking at the strings while he's walking a bit behind them. I feel like Moss,
Are you playing a romantic little tune for them?
He kind of is, yeah.
Yeah, set the ambiance, baby.
I think Moss noticed the glimmer in Oleyna's eyes,
and
he is being the best wingman he can be right now.
Do you recognize that she's on a pretend date?
I think he would after seeing the look on your face.
Yeah, and how much she has looked at Psalm along this journey.
Yeah, it's very rare that he sees Oleyna with any sort of awestruck in her eyes, and the fact that she has even a little bit, he just kind of wants to let her enjoy that. So he'll do what he can to help.
As Psalm leads you, when you first grabbed his arm, you could feel his like muscles sort of tighten, like tense, not in like a "ooh, I'm flexing" kind of way, but "oh god, sudden contact" way. And as you guys continue down the road, you do feel him sort of relax a bit into your hold. And he makes his way down a small alleyway where you will find a little magic shop with a hanging wooden sign reading "The Looming Moon." Sort of indicates that you have arrived at your destination.
How quaint. And she'll sort of take a moment to stand close to Sam just a little bit longer before she lets go of him and steps inside.
Before you step inside, you do note that the windows are darkened, but there is a sign obviously hanging on the door indicating that it's open. When you step inside, you realize how much the outside betrays the inside. The walls are adorned with rich, midnight blue velvet drapes embroidered with golden celestial patterns that twinkle and glimmer as if touched by starlight itself. Every which way you look, there are rows and rows of glass cabinets that showcase delicate artifacts and shelves of various spell components and herbs. Other astrological charts and maps grace the walls, allowing seekers of celestial knowledge to chart their course through the realms of the stars. Behind a large and ornate desk, you see a young man, standing looking rather bored as he flips through the pages of an old leather-bound book. His skin is pale, nearly white, with hair to match, aside from the streaks of black. Dressed rather decadently in jewel tones with the most peculiar pauldron made of some sort of animal skull, he looks right at home here in a magic shop. His gaze remains transfixed on the book until you are right in front of him at the counter, and only then does he wrench his eyes away. Can I help you?
Does this seem like just the boy version of Oleyna? As in essence, vibes?
Maybe a little bit.
Hmm.
I'm gonna drop an image into the maps and visuals so you guys can see like.
Oh, he's cute.
Yeah,
He's kind
he's
of
a cute man.
Yeah. She sort of glances over him. You can. And she sort of glances back to Moss and Sam, and I'm assuming they're both inside at this point. Couple things. First being, I'm looking for information. Perhaps on a book with no name. The one that is locked, but with no keyhole.
Describe it to me further.
She'll go on and describe the book in great detail as best as she can, and she will very vaguely describe the circumstances in which they found it. An altar, a temple that's ruined, a woods covering
It's when you describe where you had come about it. Well, that is a book that is familiar to me. Not that I've personally seen it before, however, I have read about it. My mentor has told me about it in great detail. I'm afraid, though, that this magic is something that I cannot help you with, though I might be able to point you in the direction of someone who can for the right price.
Nothing in this world is free. She's going to reach into her bag, or into her coin purse, and pull out 10 gold and slide it to him.
He looks at it and he taps the counter. He wants more.
She puts another 10 gold down.
He seems satisfied with this as he smugly sort of one by one he takes the gold pieces and puts them into his coin purse. There's an archdruid who lives beyond the Darkwood district. If anyone can help you, it would be her.
What is she called?
Nuala.
Is she approachable?
I would say, depending.
Can I ask a more salacious question?
Of course.
I am a woman of certain circumstances and skill sets. One that is tender and soft. Would she be receptive to any advances?
I don't know. Let's ask the person who played her. Jay, would Nuala be receptive to that?
I don't think so. I think Nuala is very, one, pretty straight, and two,
Shame.
Shame.
shame, I know. Doesn't like being played. I think she's old enough to be like, nah, thanks.
Be straightforward.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, what do you want?
Okay. The man will sort of regard you a little bit. I think the best course of action would be to be straightforward with her. She's not one for games and not one for seductions of that kind.
I see. It's a shame. Could be much more fun that way, but
Usually is, but some people are seeking knowledge and not the pleasures of the flesh.
what a pain. Fine. At least I know what course of action to take. What is your name?
Oh, you may call me Karis Olerel.
You may call me Oleyna. I appreciate your help. Now, perhaps something else you can help me with.
He taps the
What-
desk again.
Perhaps we can cut a deal.
All right. Name your terms.
I'm one for bargaining. And just as I said, nothing is free, including pleasures of the flesh. If you just help me with a personal issue, you can come see me in the brothel in the city. You can help me with it then. I have questions, and that need answered.
Are you expecting me to pay you?
No.
Okay.
This is a trade.
All right. He actually, at this point, he becomes aware of your appearance.
Mm.
As you had walked in, you could tell he didn't really... He kept eye contact with your eyes as you were speaking, not really taking you in as a whole person. And when you mention this bargain, now he sort of looks you up and down. All right, I think that's amiable.
Your classiest brothel in the city, what is it?
The Diamond Hollow.
And meet me there, then.
Something else, and he looks to... Is Moss with you at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. I would warn you about it tonight, but I think it's better to warn your entire group as well. Be careful as you get close to the wilds. There's something strange happening. And I fear that we are no longer as safe from what lurks in there as we have been in the past.
What do you mean by strange?
Strange creatures, visitors, trespassers.
Would you perhaps agree if you were to say creatures like that change on their own?
He leans forward. Have you encountered these creatures already?
Perhaps.
How far?
Come, Dove.
There's concern in his eyes. This is the most emotion you've seen on his face since you've entered the arcane shop. Well, that is troubling if they've made their way down there already. Seems to be breaking quicker than anticipated.
What is breaking?
He looks at you. The seal over the wilds. If you are aware of changelings and other nefarious creatures, the cracks are widening. And there will be more and more terrible things coming from there as those cracks widen.
This isn't good. I think Oleyna's trying to process this.
You can give me a history check, Oleyna.
Okay. That's a 15 total.
Okay. There's not much written history about Tirfian from before a millennia ago. There's not much known about what lurked in these lands before the first queen took hold and built the kingdom, or queendom rather. But you have a feeling that based on what this shopkeeper is saying, the seal, perhaps there might be some sort of what's the word? Connection between what lived here before and the wilds.
Oleyna thinks back on her dreams in that meadow and the woods that she tried to go into. And more importantly, her overseer. And I think he'll see, and Moss may see as well, a look in her face. It's fallen. And there's almost guilt there. This is not good. We should probably get back to Neck and warn him. And she says this to Moss.
I am all for that. We have a big idea of where it is. I'm sure it won't be too hard to find.
Karis will... Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say Karis will sort of tip his head to you, kind of beckon a see you later tonight.
She'll sort of very quickly gather herself together and turn the coyness way, way up. And she'll smile. And as she turns, her head is like the last thing to turn away with her. She wants to maintain eye contact with him and give almost a bashful nod. Mm-hmm. Before very quickly glancing up to Som and then to Moss and leaving.
All right. You will make your way to where you know next home to be, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. What do? You find yourself standing in front of an apartment in the residential district. You do see there's like a little mailbox, and it has the name Sitnamor on it, which you know to be Neck's last name.
I think Oleyna will march up to the door and with the back of her hand knock on it.
It's probably nighttime by now. Neck, you had shuffled from your room to the couch, and as you were trying to get comfortable with the little blanket of one of your daughters on the couch, you hear a knock on your door.
I'll get up and go to the door.
You open it, and you see two of your companions, at least.
Welcome to my home. You guys want to come in?
I think Oleyna sort of looks over the home and looks back to Moss. I have some business to attend to, but we did want to meet back up for some information.
It's like, well, I kind of have information as well.
Does she note that he's upset or has been upset?
He probably looks just like fucking wretch. He looks like he's trying to keep it together, but you can tell that it's just like he's miserable right now.
Myriad, would Oleyna be able to pick up on this easily?
Neck, as far as you have known him, has been a fairly stoic individual. His face normally sort of betrays nothing. So for him to answer the door, and you can see sort of a sallowness to his cheeks, his eyes maybe look like they've been rimmed with red, maybe from crying, or at least maybe trying not to cry. There's definitely something wrong.
I think Oleyna would reach out to his shoulder and squeeze it and ask, "Is everything all right?"
I am going to be hunted.
What does this mean?
I know the organization that I work for. If you ever show any weakness, they are not a weak organization. Implying that. And since she passed, they consider me weak.
This is the first time Oleyna's hearing about your wife passing. Oh, Moss. She looks back at you, Moss, and then looks back at Neck. Darling, I'm so sorry. And for as like Oleyna-y as she is, I think she's sort of a soft woman. She sort of offers a hug.
He doesn't accept it right now, and he'll like look at Oleyna and then at Moss and just be like, I was sent on this mission. And she had passed before I even left.
I'm so sorry.
Moss will almost furrow his brow what looks like anger. I can't imagine the loss you must be feeling. I am so terribly sorry.
Right now, the priority is I have a month to try and figure out what to do with the girls before I may be summoned again. Or I don't know how my conversation went with Ogun.
How do we keep your family safe?
Right now, I'm not sure.
Well, then that's what we figure out.
All I know is there's got to be something I can do.
Neck, give me a either history or insight check.
They're both the same.
Mhm.
So I guess we'll do history. 18.
There are some advantages to having your father be the High Archivist. And one of those is the protection that it affords you and your family. You have a feeling that if someone is going to come hunting for you or knocking on your door, it is not for your family. It's going to be for you specifically. There would be scandal if your family went missing, ended up dead somewhere because of your father's position. So you have a feeling that your daughters, your mother-in-law, your mother and father are safe. It's specifically you that is in danger.
And he'll address both of you and just be like, I don't know. Actually, quick question. Would my father still be like working at this time?
Like, is he in office right now?
Yeah.
No, it's fairly late, so probably not.
Okay. He'll look at you two and be like, I can't sleep right now. I know you said you had an appointment, Oleyna. I was gonna go ask my father about the book, and also obviously have a small conversation with him about my family.
Perhaps that is a good idea.
Hmm?
I might have found some information about the book as well. Well, at least how to open it. There's an archdruid out in the wilds. But, Nick, I hate to inundate you with this information, but something is terribly wrong out in the wilds. Something is coming through from somewhere. And I don't know what it is.
He'll reference,
But it
like
does.
what we all saw and be like, that.
The changeling?
The
Yeah,
changeling,
yeah.
yes. Yes. And I don't really know what that means, but apparently we will need to venture to the wilds to see the search druid. Are you with us? I would understand if you aren't. If you have things to attend to, your daughters.
Well, maybe he like runs his hand through his hair and he's just like thinking and he's like, maybe she'll have something to help. There's got to be something I can do to get her back.
Those words resonate with Moss very strongly, and he's going to hide his face, just kind of turn away from everyone for the moment.
Does Nick notice that?
That would be up to Neck, I guess. He's not like, he's just trying to hide his face. He's not trying to hide the fact that he's trying to hide it. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So do you guys want to, or at least Moss, do you want to come with me and see my father?
Let's go.
Oh, and you may join. I know you have prior engagements.
I have some business to attend to. Like I said, I'm not certainly one for official offices unless I'm not going to finish that sentence.
For the best.
Okay, we will follow Moss and Neck. Neck, you head further into the residential district where you know your family home is. Where you know your mother and your father reside. It's a proper house, not just an apartment, as would be allotted for a person of such high station in Dúnbrig. The High Archivist makes quite a bit of money. They're a very important person. And what do you do?
Kind of as we're walking, Nick will have, noted that you kind of hid yourself when I had mentioned that. I'd be like, he's just kind of like looking at Moss a bit as they like walk. He'll I guess in a way, just be like, did you lose somebody as well?
Well, the longer this takes, the more I'm scared that I'm beginning to lose hope in finding my mother.
I mean, do you have, pardon the phrasing, do you have any proof that she is fast?
No, and I think that not knowing you wake up every morning, you set it as your goal to find information, to find a thread, to find anything to follow. The longer it takes, the harder it is to keep faith that there is still something there. To answer your question, I don't have proof she's not here. Don't have proof she is either. And now I'm getting cryptic messages from my... And he makes a very quick pause. Cryptic messages from my father that I don't understand. I don't understand so much about them.
Nick will kind of just like look at Moss, just be like, it is an incredible sorrow that I have come home to what I have. But you have, in some regard, the greatness that is not knowing. Hold on to any breadcrumb that you can. And if we continue to travel together, I will hopefully help as much as I can to prevent you from feeling how I am right in this moment.
Upon hearing that, you see Moss for a moment. You see a twinkle in his eye, like there's something he knows, something he's heard about, something he's read that could offer you hope, but he doesn't want to share it right now. I can only imagine what you're feeling. And I don't mean to compare traumas, I guess, if you will. I just want to... I don't know, it almost feels sardonic even to say. But I feel as if there may be answers out there for both of us. I know... What? Hey, who? I don't know. And you'll see Moss kind of shake his head and come out of his little depression, stupor, or whatever he was in. If you need me, I'll be there. It's not a lot that I can offer at times, but it's something, I guess.
You're more than you can do more than you know. Are we getting close to the house?
Yeah,
Okay.
Whenever you guys want to arrive.
Okay. So he'll kind of candidly, just like kind of maybe as he's like approaching the door to like go knock, he'll kind of just say, like, not really to Moss, he'll just say it in general and be like, maybe he's just like, maybe if I wasn't a gladiator, maybe if I did something that made more, I could have saved her. And kind of knock on the door.
I'm gonna say it's getting fairly late in the evening. You knock and you wait a moment, and then you knock again, and you hear a very familiar grumble coming from the other side of the door as it swings open, and you are met with your father,
Papa!
Torfir Sitnamor. He stares at you for a moment, almost as if he's seeing a figment of his imagination. He hasn't seen you in the 2 years that you've left. And there's a pause before he grabs you by the shoulders and brings you in for a hug. Son?
Father.
And just as quickly as that hug starts, does it end, as he brings you in and then quickly puts you back at arm's length. It's a bit late for you to be prowling around my house. What brings you here?
I don't know if you heard what happened.
He obviously has heard.
It's like I just got back.
Did you not receive the letters that we wrote you?
None.
Your mother and I? Nesti's mother?
None.
There's a rage building up in his face. Your father is not a stupid man. Your father is a very, very intelligent man, and he's an intelligent man that works for the government. He knows what happened. He knows that everything was kept from you. And he'll look towards Moss, in front of yours.
Yeah.
Then he kind of gives a sigh. All right, come on. And he will gesture you guys to come in, leading you to the sitting room. Because you guys are rich, so you have a sitting room.
Upon walking in, Moss will just kind of... Moss doesn't know really what to do. He knows at this point that this man has a lot of money, but he doesn't know if he's like some kind of king or something. So Moss is going to give him a slight curtsy bow, where he like... name's Moss?
Next father looks a little confused.
I don't know that. I apologize, sir. I don't know the protocols here.
I'm just the archivist. You don't have to
I
be
don't know
bowing.
what
We're
that
not
means.
not nobles. Not nobles.
Well, I don't know what that means, but I appreciate it.
And he will gesture for you guys to sit down. What? You've clearly come here with a purpose. What is it?
We found a book on our travels. As he's like unclipping. Actually, I don't think he sleeps in his armor, so he probably just pulls out from like his waistband the book.
You hand it to him.
Yeah.
He examines it, tries to pull it open, realizes that it will not open. And hold on, I need to do a check for him. As he examines the book, you see him. Your father is not necessarily proficient with magic. He's more of a books kind of guy. Books and scrolls and tomes. But with that, with the archivist title, does come a certain knowledge of magic. And he kind of turns the book every which way, examining it. And it's like he tasted something. And you all know that every person has a unique flavor of magic. When they cast, even residuals of magic will still have a taste to them. And he tosses the book back to you. And there's confusion and maybe even animosity. Where did you get that?
So, kind of relay the events that went through to get it.
You should put it back where you found it.
That bad?
The person who bound that book will not want you messing with it.
Who bound the book?
I'm not going to tell you that, you little shit.
Papa! At this point, Moss is gonna look at Neck and just kind of raise his eyebrows like, should I try something?
Next, like, I already got called a little shit. Go ahead, brother.
Sir, I understand trepidation, but it could be very important that we understand this book.
Where that book leads you, you do not want to go.
But what if we don't have a choice?
There's always a choice.
But to sit by and take the easy way or the safe way isn't always what's right.
I don't want my son going there.
You know, I watched your son rip a man's spine out with his bare hands.
It's not a matter of physical prowess.
At this point, Nick Moss.
Just switch
Yeah.
characters, it's fine.
Yeah, that's great. At this point, Moss just kind of looks around and he's like, with all due respect, we're not going to stop digging until we find this information.
Well, then I'm going to make it a little harder for you by not giving it to you.
But making it a little harder only prolongs the inevitable.
Prolong it I shall. You can tell. Neck gets his stubbornness from someone.
All right.
And it's the man sitting in front of you.
You said he's not very knowledgeable in magic.
Mm-mm.
What? God damn it. Okay.
He's not a magic user.
Moss is going to stand up and he's going to just a moment. And he's going to kind of make his way behind Nick's father, and he's just going to kneel down and cast Zone of Truth.
Okay. Does he have to make a save?
Yes.
Actually, you will note that your spell fizzles out before you are able to cast it.
Try.
I'm gonna give this to you. This is the High Archivist of Dúnbrig. He has the secrets of the country in his head. It is going to, there is something, he has a ward, he has an object, some sort of item on him, something there's no way you're breaking into this man's mind or getting him to spout any sorts of truths to you that he does not want to say himself.
Well, I'm pushed out of ideas.
That's it then?
Do you know anything of other planes, pocket dimensions?
I only know what
Nexus
has
points?
been I only know what has been brought to the archives. This, as far as I am concerned, those are ramblings of madmen.
Would it surprise you to learn that the ramblings of madmen is where we found that book? Inside one of these nexus points, these pocket dimensions.
Not surprising, no, actually. Should leave well enough alone.
I can't.
Only going to bring ruin.
As in the country, or?
His face turns cold.
Bingo, bingo.
Thank you. I apologize. I'll give a slight bow, and then return to my subservient position.
Porphyr will look at you, Neck. You staying?
Maybe for a bit. I don't know. As you can understand, it's a little tough to fall asleep at home right now. Partially why I came here when I did. No,
Well,
look at.
you need a place to stay for the night. You are welcome to stay here. God knows your mother would be happy to have you.
I'll look at Moss and be like, "Are you gonna
I'll find my way.
And he'll look at his dad and be like, "So how are the girls?"
Oh, they're quite well. I'm sure you've seen them, no?
Yes.
Ellis hits like a fucking truck.
Don't know where she gets that from.
And then we will make our way over to Oleyna.
Oh, well,
Hello. I assume you're making your way to the Diamond Hollow.
I am, in fact.
Okay.
She's not sauntering like she normally would.
No?
No, just kind of bummed out. New pal's wife's dead. That sucks.
So you make your way to the Diamond Hollow. I imagine you probably able to ask around a little bit and get pointed in the right direction.
Yeah.
And as you enter the Diamond Hollow, you do see a young human woman kind of rushing around with a plate of food and a drink in her other hand. And as she's kind of running past you, she stops and she's like, "Oh,
Yes.
you're wanted upstairs.
By who?
Woman, brown hair, eyes, bronze skin, very pretty."
Ah, I see.
She will kind of gesture
Oh,
you to.
I'm meeting somebody else here, but she follows her. And is your madam open for a spot this evening?
Oh, I can certainly ask her. You are, what's your name?
Oleyna.
Oh, okay. I need to deliver. I need to drop off this. She wanted food and drink, so I am going to drop it off, and she paid me well, so I will drop it off to her, and then I will go see the madam.
Easy work. Let your madam know. And she's still following her as they're talking and walking. Let your madam know that I come from the Gilded Cage.
Oh, I hear it's quite nice there.
It is beautiful. You should try it sometime.
She will stop at a room and kind of butt it open with her hip, the door open with her hip, and you will see Eilif sitting at a table, kind of picking at the remnants of the food that is left on her plate, which is quickly replaced with a fresh plate from the woman.
Eilif, dear, you wanted to see me?
Yes. Eilif is now like removed all her armor. It's just in a pile in a corner. And now all that's left is just her like leather under what's it called? Her clothes underneath. And you do see that underneath she does have like a little red patch. Like a small patch of red leather that just like lines the buttons. Which is the only red she wears, as the rest of it is in fact green. It's either green or black. And she, I know you were supposed to find information, on the book. Anything?
We're to go meet with an archdruid
Not true.
out in the wilds.
Okay, sure. Seems
Um,
like a skim, but
you should know something, Eilif.
hmm.
Next wife is dead. And he seems to be hunted now.
It's all right. We can protect him. He'll be all right.
He will. He will. He'll be just fine. He's a
Strong man
seemingly, yes.
from the
but-
outside.
Yes, allegedly. I don't know what his mental psyche is like, so we'll find out.
Shambles, maybe.
Probably, I would. Well, I don't really believe in love like that, so
Right. Oh,
I don't really know what it would feel like to feel that.
it's not bad. It's actually quite good.
It seems inconvenient and a loss of profit.
Well, not all of us can do what you do, so it's alright for a time, and then things inevitably go wrong way around.
Yeah, well, I'm quite aware that nobody can do quite what I do, but, I'm quite gifted in that respect, and I appreciate you for
Sure.
noticing so. But I feel like I'm at a bit of a crossroads with the situation. I don't want to necessarily be overly tender, and at the same time, I do have sympathy for the man.
I suppose Harry's kids are right.
I suppose they are. I didn't see them. I'm not really one for children and dealing with that. That seems a bit messy.
They can be. Though they are a lot of fun.
Mm,
Unpredictable. But fun.
fun. I don't like unpredictable. Unpredictable is how one gets hurt. So, it's gross. I don't like that.
Unpredictable is, has its benefits, but I suppose for now we just treat him, the same until he tells us otherwise. Or until we decide that it's necessary for us to treat him differently.
I know that if it was me, I would want life to go on. I would hate to be pitied.
Yeah. It's, I suppose he, this may sound a bit dark, but at least he knows, unlike, Moss, that at least he knows where she is, you know?
What sort of read am I getting off of Eilif at the moment? And she is reading her.
Eilif, if you want to answer this.
She seems kind of messy, whereas she kind of speaks a little awkwardly normally. This isn't awkward. This is more like, almost as if she's trying to get back into her body, you know what I mean? Like somebody who's just like drifted away a little bit. What's that term? What is that called?
I don't know.
Dissociated.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
She's kind of dissociated, and as she's talking to you, she's like slowly coming back, and she's trying to put on that like, yeah, everything's okay kind of
Vibe.
feeling.
Yeah.
And I would say that nothing. May I roll for something? I would have probably burned that letter after it was given to me.
Mhm.
But since I took off, since Eilif took off her armor, that little like knitted thing is somewhere in the room.
Okay.
I suppose that wouldn't be my role. It's just something that's around.
So do you want Oleyna to find it, or?
I mean, it would just be up to.
Or do you realize that it's not on your person right now, and you're going to want to search for it?
That, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, Eilif, you
not like moving, just like scanning the room to see where it actually is.
I imagine that maybe the little knitted object is something that you might grab every now and again. Run your hand over the fraying fabric to sort of ground yourself. And in this moment, as you have sort of almost dissociated from yourself due to recent events and recent revelations, you find yourself reaching for it, and it's not there. And you begin to frantically scan the room for where it might have gone. Hopefully it's in the room. And Oleyna, you will notice Eilif sort of disconnect from the conversation you were just having, and her eyes sort of start flitting about as though she's looking for something.
I think Oleyna will sort of cant her head to the one side and then ask, "Did you lose something, dear?"
Something small. Unimportant.
Would you like help?
No. Should be able to find it, though if you find a little red mitten, suppose hand it over.
She's looking at the size of your hands. And then looking back up at your face. And I think by this point, Eilif would recognize when Oleyna is storing information. It's almost like a raise of the brows and a nod of the head. And it's like, oh, I see.
Yeah, don't do that.
Whatever do you mean, dear?
You're stocking up on information. Your people are complex.
Yes. People are very complex, aren't they, Eilif?
We're not commodities.
Do you think that I think you are a commodity?
Yes.
I think Eilif will find Oleyna staring at her for a little too long. Sort of watching and studying her like you would a commodity. Everything has value, Eilif. Everything has a cost. Nothing is free. Even your existence.
That
So
much
yes,
I know.
you very well might be a commodity, but so am I. So is Neck, so is Moss, so is the madam of this brothel, so is our dear twin queens. Everything has value. Monetarily and otherwise. Don't take offense to it, dear. It's just a fact.
You're a friend to me, not a commodity. Now, do you want some of this whiskey, or am I going to drink it all by myself? I would prefer not to.
As that conversation comes to an end, you do hear a softer knock at the door. And the madam of the house peeks her head in. Nan Earlham is her name. She is some sort of Earth-Genasi, and you imagine that the Diamond Hollow might get its name from her because you can see in tiny slits on her skin, it's almost like the underneath is made of diamond. And her eyes are clear and quartz-like. And she looks to you, Oleyna, immediately spotting another courtesan. You are Oleyna from the Gilded Cage, correct?
She pulls out her handkerchief as if to signal a yes, and she nods and says, I am.
You're looking for work for the night?
Yes. I will pay whatever fee.
Of course, we take 20%. That is fine.
It's agreeable.
I can set you up in a room. I will have one of my attendants garner you clientele for the night.
I actually have a very particular friend coming to see me, but if I finish with him early enough, I will take on more.
That's agreeable. Well,
Excellent.
I will have one of the attendants come and show you to your rooms. If you need anything further, please do not hesitate to ask. We pride ourselves in being an amazing establishment that services all types of clientele.
That I can tell. I think Eilif would notice, and correct me if I'm wrong, Myriad, that this madam kind of talks to Oleyna like she is a commodity. And that this is very normal for Oleyna, and this is, she doesn't really know what real friendship is. She knows what bargaining is. She knows what value people have to her, and beyond that,
Oleyna
friendship
has
is-
never known anything other than being a commodity. Even your friendship with Vadium started
Yep.
off you being a commodity.
I think Vadium is probably her only friend at this point. And even then, there is still value she sees in him and he sees in her. And I think that maybe in that conversation, that brief moment between that madam and Oleyna, Eilif might see that. And Eilif will, or Oleyna will look back to Eilif and say, well, unfortunately, dear, that whiskey is all yours. Enjoy it.
Well, don't worry about paying me anymore.
Are you quitting?
Oh.
Huh. She sort of looks confused at this and sort of shakes her head like, whatever, I'm still gonna pay you, whatever. You're my employee. And sort of leaves the room to... But she will look back at Eilif one last time with that same unblinking stare, that studying, scrutinizing look. Good night, Eilif.
I suppose you're gonna have a good night as well.
That I am, dear. There's business afoot. And with that, she'll leave.
So Oleyna, one of the attendants, a shy, meek girl, comes and shows you to your rooms. They're beautiful, as you would probably expect from this sort of establishment. This one, very similar to the Ladies' Embrace. Beautiful, not quite as opulent or as gaudy, quote unquote, as the Gilded Cages, but a very fine establishment. And do you let her know who you are expecting?
Yes, she does. And she says when he comes, send him right up to her.
She nods, of course, and she will go back down. Eilif, would you like to do anything else further? Or are you going to settle in for the night?
I don't think that Eilif's really gonna sleep as much as she's just gonna, like, write the note to Saris.
Mhm.
And then just kind of, at some point, just kind of wander out into the darkness.
Okay.
Like, into the night. Just
Mhm.
pace.
Okay. Moss, would you like to do anything as well?
Moss will say his goodbyes and leave Neck with his family, or with his dad. And Moss is going to do something very similar. He doesn't go to the brothel. He doesn't look for anywhere to stay for the night. He just wanders until he finds somewhere pretty, kind of secluded, where he can just kind of sit, maybe lay back and watch the stars for a bit.
So I will say that you end up probably in the Seagate district. The docks at night tend to be fairly secluded. Sailors have gone back to either the tavern or their homes for the night, and you find yourself on a dock. You lay down, staring up at the sky, night stars, listening to the waves lap against the shore. And it's almost like you're back home in Turgarin, hearing the waves in the bay, the Gulf. Same salty breeze floats through the air. And for a second, all is right in the world. and we'll cut back to Oleyna. Paris walks through the door. Rather, maybe he seems a bit uncomfortable. You can tell from him, he's not really, he does fine on his own. He's never really had use for these sorts of establishments. But he found you interesting, and he found your proposition interesting, so he finds himself standing in the doorway of your room at the Diamond Hollow.
I imagine Oleyna is probably lounging, and she'll stand politely and motion him inside and walk towards the door to close it. I appreciate you showing.
Well, you drive a hard bargain, I would say.
She'll motion for him to sit on, I would imagine it's like a sitting couch, like a settee or something.
He makes himself fairly comfortable, now that it's just you two in the room. He kind of lounges, he throws an arm up, crosses his legs at the knee over his ankle.
She'll kind of curl up to him, and she's sort of doting on him, starting her bargain of the deal. I am not necessarily one to know much about the arcane. I'm a woman of the flesh, not the mind, per se. Which is a lie. She's highly intelligent and is a swindler.
He clocked that very immediately, because he is very perceptive, and he'll kind of quirk an eyebrow at that, but lets you go on.
She sort of got, the lapel of his shirt in hand, and she says, but as of late, I feel as though something has been watching me, something divine. What say you of dreams that feel too real, and bargains that are made when you're in such dreams?
Now, you say divine, but divine beings don't make bargains. A divine being is going to grant you their power, they do it without the strings attached of a contract. If something made a bargain with you, well, it's probably nefarious in nature.
Very quietly, she will say to this man, who is a perfect stranger to her, who she probably would never see again in her right mind, it didn't really feel like a choice. It felt like compulsion.
And did they whisper pretty words to you, promising power and money and everything in this life that you could wish for?
Not exactly. It felt... Have you ever found something so ugly it's beautiful?
Can't say that I have, actually.
Without a face, and only the image of what I know is my preferred divine patron. It felt very ugly, but in a way, I found it the most beautiful thing I have ever seen in my life. It was not pretty words, it was scary, it was terrifying, in fact. But I could not help myself but to lean forward into it, as if it was some monstrous, erotic thing.
Paris seems almost enamored by your words. He's taking the end of your hair and sort of twirling it between his fingers as he leans in closer, sort of enraptured by the way that you're describing this. And you don't know what sort of entity it might be.
I assumed it was a god, but I don't know.
What did it look like?
How familiar with the gods are you?
There's a quirk of a smile on his face. Fairly familiar.
She struggles to speak for a moment. What is a courtesan who is not a hunter? And you may pray.
The huntsman, then.
Yes.
I mean, it wouldn't be the first time, but what is it that you could offer to a god? Not any affront to you, but what could you offer to a god?
She's withholding information.
Hmm?
She knows what it asked for. I don't know. Not to give you the sob story, but I've had some unfortunate circumstances. Perhaps you took pity on me.
Gods can be rather empathetic when they want to be. At least certain ones. Huntsman is a peculiar one, though. Odd that he would take a liking to you. You can tell he doesn't mean that in an offensive way.
I think Oleyna will very carefully then describe one of the dreams that she's been having since she was a child.
Hmm.
And she'll describe the meadow in great detail as if she's breathing it against him. And then the vision of the huntsman that she saw, and certain details left out, again, about what promises were made, and she will leave out the dream she had where her hands and her mouth and eyes were covered and she was yanked back from the forest, but she'll give all the flowery, beautiful vestiges of these dreams, and she says them so close to him that she's like almost kissing him.
Hmm. I imagine that Karis at this point, he's sort of taking initiative now. He'll lean in, press some kisses to your throat, and in between, he's sort of agreeing with you. Well, it does sound quite like the huntsman. Meadows and forests and deer skulls. Perhaps I am wrong. Perhaps you are being blessed by a god. I would be careful, though, of the wagers you make, regardless of divinity.
I think in a moment of unbridled honesty, she will very quietly tell him, I feel like he is who he says he is, or appears to be. But I am but a fawn in that meadow.
Perhaps it is you that's being hunted, then.
I don't know what these repercussions will be, but I don't think I really have a choice.
The pact has already been struck. There's very little that can be done in order to break it.
I think Oleyna is a little bit saddened by this. And she'll sort of shake her head, and it's enough questions for now. Karis, I think I owe you my end of the proposition.
And he will take your chin and press a kiss to your lips. And we will fade to black. And Moss and Eilif and Neck you will all take a point of exhaustion. And that is where we will end our session.
Well, that was heavy.
So we will start again in the morning next week. But now we're going to do our outros. Jay, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Jay. I play Eilif. I'm real sad right now, on multiple accounts. But you can find me on social medias at TheYellowCubes. I don't really do much, but you can go on there and follow me. I'm gonna try to start streaming stuff once I get all my stuff sorted. Mostly for the king, so follow me there. You can also find me in Myriads and Bones' Discord's just being around. So, you know,
We appreciate you just being around.
I'm just being around. I'm trying to be supportive, okay?
It's a little guy.
He's a little guy.
Onions.
Muted?
Muted?
Hi.
Yep.
I am Mournian. You can mainly find me here on Saturday mornings and in these lovely people's chats being a general pain in their butt. That's about it for Mournian. Moss is sad. I feel like that's going to be a general theme of the episode.
Joel?
The name of this one is Sadness.
Sadness.
Next, more sad. Not to be, not to steal the podium from you. Depression
Your wife is
is hitting
dead.
neck. Yep. It's hoping to at least be like, see ya, babe. Nope.
Oh, not even a goodbye.
Between friends.
Hey,
Not even a goodbye.
just got a little. Well,
It's okay. Cry.
Little
I wonder
Bones
if she
309.
wrote you a letter that never got through.
Yeah, well, you might be sad, but Oleyna's horny and sad. So, I'm one-upping you on that one. Hi, I'm Little Bones 309. I'm an indie gamer. That's all I do over here on Twitch is play indie games. You can catch me all over the internet doing that and talking to developers and all the good stuff. And I play TTRPGs all around the web with my friends, like over here on Saturdays where I play Oleyna. Tonight, I've had 2 streams now. 3rd stream. We're going. AAA Saturday. It looks like we're playing Katamari Damacy. I'm so tired. Why did I agree to this?
I don't
got
know.
this.
I don't know why you agreed to this, because you didn't run it by me and Creep beforehand is the problem.
Well, yeah, I just fucking my managers, my dadagers. Instead of momagers, it's dadager.
Yeah. Speaking of Creep, we're going to give Darling Creep Show a cheeky little shout out. Make sure you go tune in to her tomorrow for Cyberpunk 2020, which Bones is also on.
boy. I'm also, I need help.
I'm scared for you.
Me too. I'm so scared.
I'm so fucking scared right now.
Oleyna may not have a point of exhaustion, but Bones does.
Bones
Bones
definitely
has
has one.
And I'm Myriad, guys, or Miri, whatever you want to call me is fine. Don't call me Myriad_X though. That's my government name. And this is my channel. So if you liked what you saw, make sure to drop a follow. We're going to be back next week for session 6, which is the finale for volume 1 of All We've Lost. We'll be taking a month break before resuming again in January, which gives me time to write the volume 2. Ha 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 ha. But the rest of the week, I am playing a whole bunch of different games. We're starting back up over on Praetor's Rejects for our Strixjammer campaign on Monday night. That's going to be at 5 p.m. Pacific. And I'll likely do a cheeky little stream afterwards. Tuesday, you catch me streaming at 5 p.m. Pacific, probably some Baldur's Gate. Wednesday, you can catch me here at 7 p.m. streaming Mass Effect 3. And then Thursday, nothing, because it's Thanksgiving, so we're off. So yeah. We got a lot going on. Make sure to follow all of these lovely people. You can join the Discord if you feel so inclined. That's where I post a more in-depth schedule every week so you guys actually have an idea of what I'm doing instead of me just freeballing it. And I think we're gonna go right on over into my pal Robbie, who I think is doing some homebrew stuff for D&D. So stick around for the raid, and hopefully we will see you guys. What does off mean? Don't worry about it. Me and Bones don't take days off.
I don't know what that means.
We don't do
Only
that.
work.
We don't do that here. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, guys. We'll catch you next week for the finale. Have a good rest of your weekend. Wave bye, everyone.
Bye.